week two of the second semester. See, a few more of you are trickling in. Welcome, welcome, hello to another beautiful Tuesday. It's kind of cold. I'm actually up in the San Francisco Bay, and it's a little chilly. I hope it's a little bit warmer down there. We got the Super Bowl coming up next week. I know you all got the Olympics going on pretty soon in SoCal, and there's going to be a field trip for that too, which is going to be pretty cool. Welcome, Kimberly, Dulce, Allison, Caitlin, Ashley, Diana, Orellana, and Gomez. Welcome, welcome. Jenny, Sevilla, Mariana, hello. How's the week going so far? How about Diana, Orellana? How's things going?
Hello.
Hey, how's it going? What have you been up to? Anything
It's
fun
been
since last week?
great. It was actually my birthday last week, so it was like a little birthday celebration on Saturday. So
Happy birthday.
Dale,
thank
dale,
you.
dale. I was just kidding. I actually walked by someone that was like celebrating their birthday the other day, going by in the park and like swinging the pinata and everything. I was like, oh my gosh, I love good family celebrations. Were you with the family, friends?
Yeah, we had my uncles and cousins over, and it was really cool.
Awesome. Congratulations. Always fun. My birthday's actually April Fool's Day. So I get a lot of ridiculous jokes. Hopefully you got less than me. Um, Congratulations again. Let's pop open our poll for the week. We're going to be talking about investments this week. I love investing. I've told you all I invest a bunch of money in real estate. I'm going to show you some other investments of mine while I talk about investing in general, and we can kind of share and discuss a little bit of them. If you do have any questions, this is something I'm particularly knowledgeable about, so I'm happy to try to share what I know. So go ahead and answer the first question here. If you could choose where your tax money goes, what would you fund most? Education, youth programs, healthcare and hospitals, environmental protection, technology, and innovation. And if you have extra money, what would you most likely do? Are you saving it? Are you spending it? Are you investing it? Have you never had extra money? It's okay too. You're going to get some money from Youth Champions just by participating here and filling out the survey and all that. Okay, it looks like a lot of spending on something fun. A couple people investing, saving it in a bank account. And actually, this is kind of interesting because we're going to talk about the difference between like saving and investing, right? Kind of putting that money in the way in the bank versus maybe putting it at risk. You could lose some of it, but maybe make a little bit more on it. Number three here, if you had $100 to invest, what would you do first? And I will tell you, actually, you can invest, I think, as little as like $5, maybe even $2. So if you use Robinhood or one of these other apps, you could purchase literally just $5. You don't even have to have $100. But go ahead and answer this question here. I was actually going to buy some stock while we're on the call here, but it's after market hours and I can't buy just $5 worth of something. So at least maybe I'll just show you how to do it. But go ahead and get your answers in here. It looks like most of you have completed the poll. If you have not, go ahead and wrap it up, and I'm going to share these results with you, and we'll chat about them a little bit. All right. Three, two, one. Poll's ending. I'm going to share the results with you all. Can you see it there? Yeah? Okay. I see a couple head nods. So if you could choose where your tax money goes, what would you fund most? The number one answer was healthcare and hospitals, followed by education and youth. Camilla. Is it Camilla, right? You gonna say Camilla? Camilla, what'd you answer for this one?
For this one, I chose the hospital one because I
Uh,
think well, to me, they're the most in need of funding. And yeah,
are you studying nursing or something?
yeah.
I'm just kidding. No, not that it's a biased answer. But have you like talked to some people maybe in the industry or heard kind of like how to inform us a little bit about why that's the case? I'm not doubting you. But yeah, like what's going on?
So like basically, my mom, she's like a nurse, and obviously like they don't get enough money from like yeah, and I feel like they need more help.
Okay, like need more people, more staffing, better stuff at the hospital, kind of all that stuff. Okay. I think it's great, and I think part of this, and we're going to talk a little bit more about taxes next week too. But it's not like the government just taking, all your money. It does go to some really important things, right? Including hospitals, including schools, um, some technology, innovation, right? Investing in the future, like NASA and things like that. So this is just touching a little bit on next week's also. But thank you, Camilla. And actually, why don't you choose the next person to answer this question number two? If you got some extra money, what are you going to do with it?
Uh, Allison Pinnell.
Allison, how's it going? And
Oh,
what'd you put in?
hi. I put spend it on something fun, but I know like the reasonable answer is to invest it, but I know myself, and if I had extra money, I would go spend it on something that I like.
I appreciate you being honest about it. That's the most important thing. I think, one thing that I learned about investing, at least over time, is like, oh man, if I can save enough and then invest it, then I don't have to work for my money anymore and can just like slack off. So I don't know if I told you all, but I quit my job maybe like 10 years ago and was kind of working remotely, but then I had enough investments and investment income. Like every year I was getting like $100,000 in income just from my investments. So I just traveled the world for like 6 or 7 years, all over Southeast Asia, Latin America, off of my investment income, not even working. I actually had a team of people that does a lot of my business stuff. Um, so that's the only thing I would throw out there. It's kind of like pushing off maybe a little bit of that fun stuff, or even if it's just throwing $5. Like I think I mentioned this last semester maybe, but maybe sometime instead of buying a Starbucks, throw $5 to buy some Starbucks stock, and that'll go up over time, and then use that money to buy the Starbucks or to go on a trip or whatever it may be. So this isn't criticism at all, Allison. I love spending all my money on fun stuff, almost all of it, but it's nice to try to put some away, and I'll talk a little bit about some ways to do that, even if it's just $5, right? Um, yeah, I was just reminiscing on all these fun times I had too. And I'm going to show you actually some of my investment stuff, like I said, and show you kind of like how I was able to invest that and make money to go enjoy. I think I shared I gave my sister a down payment for a house and took some buddies on like international trips. Bought my brother and sister-in-law a like 50-foot flagpole because that's what they wanted for their house. 7 grand. I couldn't believe it. But again, all the things you can do with money, and especially with investing money that you don't have to work for. So if you did have $100 to invest, or let's say $5 to invest, what would you put it in? How about Caitlin? Have you ever invested any money? And if you haven't, what would you maybe be interested in to do with it?
I'm not sure. I'm not too experienced on investing or anything.
Okay, I think that's fair. One thing I heard from one of these stock guys is kind of like, oh, one way to get started is just kind of like pick a company you like. So is there like a particular maybe product you like, food, drink, some big well-known company, shoes, clothes, store, whatever?
Probably Nike. Nike.
Nike? That's
Yeah.
funny because I was just looking it up. I think it's about $60 a share for Nike. But again, you can just buy a portion of a share, like $5. And I'm going to pull that up in a little bit because I actually just pulled it up a second ago. But again, one way to get started is kind of just like maybe thinking about stuff that you like or like to buy that you think will do well. This isn't like investment advice. Don't put all your money in it, but just to kind of experience what it's like, right? And be able to sign up for an account and things like that. I'm going to stop sharing this poll. Thank you, Caitlin, and we'll learn a little bit more about investing today. So hopefully by the end of the day, you'll have a little bit better idea of how to do it from a practical perspective and some conceptual stuff. Why don't we go ahead and please, if the YC staff can pop open the presentation for today. And I'm going to show you, actually, how many of you are familiar with Robinhood, the name of this app? It's like a stock trading app. It sounds like, okay, at least a few of you have heard of it. I use that sometimes, but recently I've been using a different one. And so this right here, I don't know if you can see my phone. Oh, it's kind of like blanking out. This is Nike on the Fidelity app. So it's $63.09 right now. If you buy during the day, you can just buy in dollars. You can just put in $5. But in this case, I'm just going to put in, okay, like the number of shares. I'm going to buy one share. Okay, I'm going to buy it right now. So I just click buy Nike. Boom, received. So that was $70. I can just buy a share of Nike. So I'm going to keep this in here actually. And Caitlin, if you can remind me, at least by the end of the semester, if not next week, we're going to check this and see if Nike is up or down. And we'll learn about a little bit about investing along the way. So let's go to the next slide, please. So last week we were just getting started talking about mindset, right? Having a positive mindset, having an open mind, right? Like taking in other people's ideas and also understanding that you can do way more than you think. I might have told you all originally I wanted like I thought I could buy a condo, right? Have some place to live. And then I was like, oh wait, someone told me I could buy like two apartments together in one building. And then someone told me, oh, I could buy four. And then this other guy I know bought like 10. And I was like, oh man, I could do more and more than I ever thought. Kind of keeping that expanded mind. Embracing discomfort, right? We've talked about getting outside your comfort zone all the time and to just stay curious and build habits that are going to work towards your goals. Let me pick, how about Diana or Ayana? Was there something that stuck out to you, like from last time when we were talking about mindset, or maybe something that we talked about from last semester about mindset that you've kind of been doing over the last months?
Yeah, definitely. I know this one gets really repetitive, but I think just like the most simplest way to start is just a growth mindset. I think I'm my own self-doubter in a way, and I think having that growth mindset and as a self-doubter, I think with every mistake you kind of tend to push yourself a little more down than you should. But having that growth mindset, I think I've realized that those mistakes are just little setbacks, and that doesn't mean that I can't achieve in the future. And I think that's really been working for me.
That is awesome. I love that. And actually, I've heard this many times, like kind of that self-doubt, like own biggest hater sort of thing. Is there, so I know you're talking a little bit about like, don't worry about like, oh, mistakes, learn from them. Is there some way you have been able to like maybe any tips that you can share on how you kind of twisted, how do you keep incorporating that mindset and not get that kind of self-doubt or kind of self-hater or whatever?
Yeah, what I just try to do, I just try to think about people that I look up to, or like not even just people in my life, but maybe also like celebrities or stuff I hear online of just seeing people like that start from nothing and they end up being these huge names that like even I know about and everyone around the world knows. And I just like to think to myself, like everyone starts from zero and it's up to you to just try to like get through those mistakes and try to be accomplish what you want to accomplish.
Absolutely. I love that. Like looking to other role models. It reminds me of that song, Started from the Bottom, Now We Here. Anyway, I won't play that. I think there's too much cursing for this class, but yeah, I appreciate that, right? It's like look up to other people. It's like, dang, they did this. It's funny. I know this guy who made like maybe 15, $20 million on a few, just a small handful of real estate deals. And I met him a few times. I'd known him for a while, and I'm like, this guy's kind of an idiot. No offense. But then I'm like, and he made 15 million? I'm like, I could definitely do that too then, right? So I just thought it was kind of funny, right? Everyone's just like a normal person, puts, one pant leg at a time type thing. But I appreciate that as like looking to other people. I can do it too, maybe even better sometimes. So thank you, Diana. Let's skip to the next slide, please. We're going to talk about the objectives for today, which is just understanding a little bit more about investments. We'll talk about compounding, basically how things grow over time. You make a little extra on it. Now you're building from a bigger base, and you can make more and more over that on time. A little about risk and return. Do y'all know what inflation is? Did we talk about this last semester? I'm going to ask someone on here. I didn't see who was nodding. Actually, Dulce wasn't here, right? But I'm curious, do you know what inflation is? And how would you explain it? I know I'm putting you on the spot here. If you don't know, that's fine too. I'll be talking about it today.
Um, I'm not fully sure, but I know inflation either is a respond to something by the economy that helps raise or increase prices. Like when
Yeah,
the stock market crashed. I don't know much about
yeah.
inflation in that situation, but that's why eggs were $3 back who knows when, and then now it's like
That's exactly what
$10.
it is. Yeah, stuff goes up, right? It costs more. So that's the basics. I think there's a lot to it. And sorry, I didn't mean to like put you on the spot because I haven't even informed you all on it, but that's what it is prices go up. So part of the idea is that if prices are going up and you're just like sitting on your money, having it in a mattress, not making anything on it, you can buy less and less each year, right? Now you can't afford that full 12 eggs or whatever. You can only afford six of them because prices went up. So that's why you got to make money and have it make more than prices going up. Inflation, by the way, I think the last year in the US was probably 4% or something like that. But over the last 5 years combined, it's like 30%, right? Stuff costs like a third more than it did like back in COVID times or something like that. So we'll talk a little bit more about other investment stuff, how you can invest. Let's go to the next slide, please. And again, I'll show you some of my personal examples. Okay, interest in compounding. Before we get started on this whole thing, I'd like you all to drop in the chat. Okay, so like on a scale of 0 to 10, how knowledgeable would you say you are about investing? Like never heard anything about it, maybe as low like 1 or 2, kind of maybe interested, heard some stuff like 4 or 5, or maybe like read books, follow podcasts, 7, 8, whatever it may be. I'm just kind of curious if it's like never heard of this stuff, or oh, I'm kind of like have followed it. Okay, cool. This is perfect. Okay, so a lot of threes, fours, some fives, some twos. Okay, so kind of like intro, maybe heard some stuff about it. This is just the very basics, I would say fundamentals of part of investing is compound interest. So the idea here between compound interest and simple interest is your interest also makes interest, right? So let's say I have $1,000 and I lend it to someone for a year, 10%. Simple interest is that every year I'm going to get $100 in interest. That's 10% of 1,000. $100 first year, $100 second year, $100 third year. Instead, if it's compound interest, that means I make interest on my interest. So that first year when I get $100 back, now I have 1,100, right? So now I'm going to make 10% on my 1,100 instead of 10% on my 1,000. So the next year I'm going to get $110 instead of $100. And then the year after that, it's going to be a little bit more and a little bit more. Over many years, that's going to start becoming hundreds of extra dollars every month. And that's why it goes up a lot. So, like, here's an example here. So, if you put in $100 a month, let's say you get a job and you're just like, okay, I'm going to put a little bit away and just make 5% a year, which is not that crazy. If you started at age 14, so just a little bit younger than you are today, you'd have put in $60,000. If you get simple interest, right? So just over that entire time until you turn 65, that money will more than double with simple interest. It goes from 60,000 that you actually put in to 139,000, including that interest that you make. But the compound interest, because you're making money on your money, making interest on the interest, it's almost double that. It's like $267,000. Here's the thing, even if you didn't start then, even if you started at age 35, look how much more money you're going to walk away with than what you put in. And I think that's the big thing we want to take away here is like compound interest. Again, making money on your money is going to multiply that a lot over time. And the earlier that you start saving and investing, the more it matters over time. Could you imagine like $100 a month when you get a job is not that crazy, but having hundreds of thousands of dollars when you get older, that's huge, right? So that's the idea behind this compound interest idea. Does it kind of make sense what I'm talking about here? Feel like a thumbs up or like thumbs down. I don't know what you're talking about. Okay, so at least a few nods. If you do have any questions, feel free to hop in. We'll go to the next slide, please. Okay, first workbook question of the day. So when you wake up, what's 3 things that you see that are funded by your taxes? I know we're talking a little bit about investments. There's also taxes on investments. I'm actually not 100% sure if this was the right one for this workbook, but when you wake up, get out of bed, 3 things that your taxes are used for. Okay, Thank you all. And I know this is a little bit of a switch up. I'm not sure if this question was intended for the investment one or not, or if it's for taxes later, but either way. Kimberly Jimenez, what'd you write for this?
I wrote that three things that I could think of was the school that I go to is funded by the government. Um, the roads that I take my bus or like when my mom drops me off is also funded by the government. And the last thing I put was the public parks that I go to with my friends after school because they are also funded for people to hang out or relax.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's kind of interesting, and this differs from like city to city, state to state, but sometimes they have specific like taxes and things that go to certain stuff. So for example, in California specifically, most of the school funding comes from property taxes on like, people's houses and apartment buildings and stuff like that. And a lot of the gas taxes, so there's like I think 30 or 40 cents per gallon of tax on gas goes to pay for the roads. And then actually the parks are usually when people build like a new house, they charge what's called an impact fee. Just for example, where I live over here, one city charges $100,000 per house to pitch in to help fund the parks and things like that. So if you want to build a house, you got to throw in an extra 100 grand to help get it built. So I think those are all great examples. I also just want to kind of like share, what they're funded by, because each thing, some of it goes for like general fund or income tax, some are specific to like particular taxes. So again, this is kind of a preview of what we'll be talking about next week too. But you do have to pay taxes on your investments, which we'll hit on also. And again, this kind of all connects together. Let's go to the next slide, please. So saving versus investing. I think, and I forgot who said earlier, like they have maybe like saved but not invested, right? So putting money in the bank, or at least on the poll, I think one of the number one answers was saving, but not necessarily investing. So I'm just going to throw this out there. There's like not a right or wrong answer. I haven't told you the difference yet, but how about Jenny? What do you think is the difference? What would you say between like saving and investing? And why might you do one or the other? Oh, is your audio not working? Oh,
What was the question again?
oh, just what do you think is the difference between saving and investing?
The difference between saving and investing, well, saving, you just put it away for a long period of time or a short period of time, depending. And then investing, you could put it in like a stock market. It either can increase the value of the money you put in the stock market, or it could decrease the value. You
Yeah,
could either lose.
absolutely. That's perfect. And when you're saving money, yeah, it's putting it away. Yeah, you can put it in a drawer, you can put it in a bank, hopefully at least earn a little bit of interest on it. Like right now, it's probably about 3% you could get. Or maybe invest it in something that you have more risk of losing potentially some of the money, but a bigger potential for gaining money also. So this kind of ties into the when to save versus when to invest. A lot of people say first you want to build some savings just for like emergency stuff. Like if you lose your job, how are you going to pay rent? How are you going to pay your bills? How are you going to pay your car insurance? So having a little bit of savings first is usually recommended before starting to invest. And normally investing is for some like longer term goals. So maybe something you're working for like years down the road might be better to start putting it in investment, get a little bit better return on it rather than just leaving it in the bank for 5 years or 10 years or something. I think this down here, no guarantees in investing is important. So like if you put it in the bank, you earn a few percent on it. The government, like the FDIC, guarantees your money that you'll get it back, basically with the interest too. But that's not the case if you put it in the stock market or real estate or something like that. So just be careful. You can lose your money. And we'll talk a little bit about diversification. Diversification. Actually, has anyone heard the word diversification? Raise your hand. Let's see how many of you on here have. There's some of you I can't see. Jose, Valerie, Wendy, do you think this I'm gonna ask Diana Gomez. What is diversification? Have you heard that before?
Not really,
Not
but
really. That's okay.
but what I think it is like I guess maybe investing into different assets or different things. So like you can invest into your education and then also invest like your physical money, or you can
Yeah,
invest in yourself by eating healthy.
absolutely. And diversification is, yeah, it's kind of like not putting all your eggs in one basket. So whether you're talking about investing financially or investing in yourself, it's like not just buying one stock. It's like, like Nike, for example, maybe a great company, but it's like, oh, what if someone in the company was like stealing a bunch of money and, they have to shut down, or they make crappy shoes, or I think they got caught up, was it Adidas with the Kanye thing? So there's like reputational risks. Is like there's a lot of companies that were famous that aren't around anymore. So diversification is having more companies, and you can invest in ways that'll invest in a bunch of companies at once, so you're not have the risk of just one stock. So I want to show this to you. This is actually something that I've invested in, and so I invested $40,000 in three different funds, and now it's worth $67,000. So it's gone up quite a bit, right, over some years. These are startup companies. So they're like brand new. They might not have any revenue. They're raising money. Do you think this is more or less risky than like Nike, for example? I'm going to ask someone. Alexa, what do you think? Startups, do you think they're more or less risky than like a company that's been around for a long time?
Oh, I'm sorry. What was the question? Like, could you explain it a little bit more?
Yeah, so it's like a startup, like I invested in a bunch of these startup companies. So they may be a new technology or something where they're raising money, but they might not have any customers versus like a big company like Nike. Which one do you think is like a little bit safer?
Probably like the bigger companies because they have more experience and like they've been doing this for a long time.
Exactly. More experience. They've been around longer. They have customers. Everyone knows who they are. They got their products all over the place. These companies are like super small, right? So diversification is important. And one thing I realized, so the first startup I invested in, $25,000 in one company, they went under. I invested another on 10,000, that one went under. And I'm like, okay, I need to be more diversified if I'm going to invest in startups. So I invested in these. So there's like what, maybe 8 or 10 companies in here. And I gave them what, $10,000. And instead of putting it all in one company, they put 2,000 this one, 2,000 this one, 2,000 this one, 2,000 this one. Well, if you look what happened over here, a lot of these companies didn't do that great. Like they went down in value. But so like the overall, like this one went from 20,000 down to $15,000, right? But another fund that I invested in, it has a whole bunch of companies too, right? A lot of these went to nothing, didn't do that well. But look at this one right here, $2,400 to 40,000. So out of these like 20, I actually invested probably in 30 different companies here. And this is for startups, so it's a little bit different than the general stock market. Only one of them did well out of like 20 something that I've invested in. But that was able to bump the value from 40,000 to like almost 70,000. So not quite double. And all of this is money that I got from my real estate investments. So instead of just investing in real estate, I decided to invest in some startups too. And then I also bought some stocks. So that's just a little bit about like diversification, what's possible to invest in. But again, kind of putting all your eggs in one basket is super risky. So I think it's good to, for example, instead of maybe just buying Nike, maybe buying a whole bunch of big companies they have called like the Dow or the S&P 500 are these funds that you can put in 20 bucks and buy a small share of like 5,000 or 1,000 different companies. So this touches on a little bit of all this stuff, I think, but diversification, very important, right? Because if something doesn't go well with one company, you still want others that are doing well. Let's go on to the next slide, please. Hopefully that goes up to 100,000. We'll see. The only thing with those investments is I can't just go sell them tomorrow like a normal stock. It's only when that company like goes to the stock market or something like that, I'm going to get some more money on it. So here's your second online workbook question. Describe a short-term goal you have and a long-term goal. So short-term might be the next like 6 months, year. Longer term is maybe like 4, 5, 10 years. Like what's a bigger long-term goal? And then a little bit about saving and investing. Which one do you think is better for one or the other? And I want to let you know after you fill out this workbook question, we're going to jump into breakout rooms for a little bit because I think it's important for people to be able to talk about what their goals are, kind of how they're going to get there, and how does this fit in. So go ahead and take a couple minutes to answer this question, please, and we'll play some background music for you. Okay, time's up. I'm going to ask you all a couple of these questions also, and maybe this is kind of like a model when you jump into your group. I think it's nice to ask some follow-up questions about kind of those goals and how people plan on getting to them. It doesn't have to be just, oh, would you save or would you invest? But I like how someone mentioned earlier, it's like, oh, it's not just financial stuff, but like, what are you going to invest in yourself? So whatever's going to help you get towards those goals. Let's see, maybe I'll pick someone with the, oh, okay, I don't think okay, I haven't called on Elias yet today. Elias, welcome. How's it going? What's like a short-term goal you have and a longer-term goal, first of all?
Okay, personally, one of my like short-term goals that I have right now are definitely to like start saving around $50 to $75 weekly, and then hopefully by the end of senior year and start of college, I can have around $10,000 saved up. Obviously, that
Nice.
means I'm gonna probably have to like save up a bit more during some times that I start getting even more money. But I mean, that's kind of like the goal I have right now.
That's awesome. 50 to 75 a week. That's even more money than is in that example. If you were to invest it long term, right? You end up with hundreds of thousands later. So how are you going to do that? And it's just just by the way, whole class, student leaders, and alumni. It's kind of just some examples of maybe the follow-up questions you can kind of ask. So how are you going to get that done? You already have a job. How are you getting money?
Well, right now I'm getting support from my family,
Okay.
and they're giving me like the option to get some money and then save some and then use some, and that's how I'm gonna like start building up. And then also through like programs like Youth Champions, I can like start saving up from there, and then
Yeah.
um in the summer hopefully I get like a job or something that I can save up at least a portion of it, and that's how I'll like, start raising
Awesome.
enough
And
money
did you say what the
that
10,000's
I
for?
hopefully will have. Well, I definitely want to put it towards my education.
Okay. And I like that because, like, putting towards your education, that's almost like investing to make more money in the future, right? Like you're going to grow your skills, presumably be able to make more in the future with this investment in yourself, next year or whatever it may be. So that's perfect. Thank you for sharing that, Elias. And again, I kind of wanted like I'm curious for you all to kind of learn. It's like, okay, it's like what is the money for? How are you going to get there? And think about, okay, what's the action plan? And just as one other thing, Elias, I'll ask you, have you calculated how much you would have if you do save 50 to 75 a week by that time?
I think I've made the calculations for like what's it called? Like just 1 year,
Okay,
and
yeah.
then I think it was around almost 5,000. So that's why I was like, but that
Yeah.
would mean that I would have to be like investing or saving up 100 almost every single week. So that's like,
Yeah, because there's 52 weeks in a year, right? Yeah, so $100 would be
yeah,
5,000. If you did 50 a week, that'd be like 200 a month would be 2,400 a year without
yeah,
any other stuff. So you got some new champions money. But I think it's nice to think about these things, right? When we think about our goals, it's like we got, break them down and it's kind of like, oh, dang, that would be an average of $100 a week. So if I do 50 once, I got to do 150 the next time.
yeah.
So
That's
and
what I
again,
was.
not to discourage, but yeah, I think it's good to be realistic. And then it's like, okay, then how am I going to get there?
Yeah,
Um, So this is good. Thank you. I appreciate you answering and answering my follow-up questions too. And again, I kind of want to just throw that out there because I think we're going to do this. I think we'll do a, breakout room for about 5 minutes because we're going to have a few different groups here. Oh wow, eight. You know what? I think we might just do, I think there's five student leaders and three alumni. Alumni, if you don't mind just joining the groups and kind of like checking things out, make sure everything goes smoothly. I was gonna have the student leaders, there's five of them run the groups. So let's actually do five groups, if we can, please, instead of eight, because I think that'll be too many. And we'll do it for 5 minutes. And again, I just want to encourage the student leaders to kind of like ask some follow-up questions, see how people are going to get their goal. And I think the more you know about how you're going to get to your goal, and the logistics associated with that, the more likely you are to get to it. So whether it's savings, investing, it's just kind of like how are you going to get there? So let's go into breakout rooms, and then we'll come back and talk a little bit about what our goals are, how we're going to get there, and maybe how some of this financial stuff plays into it. So if we are ready, YC staff, we will go ahead and pop into the breakout rooms, and I'll see you all in a little bit. Oh, NYC staff, if you can broadcast this question into the groups, please also. Thank you.
Yep.
Sure. Welcome back, everybody. Hello, hello. I think a few people are coming in. Welcome back, Sabia, Jose. Okay, everyone else trickling in now. You probably saw me just like popping in briefly to a lot of y'all's breakout rooms here. I always like to hear what everyone's doing, make sure everything's going smooth. I thought it was interesting. One of the things I heard, one group was talking about this, Diana, who was saying that like 50, 30, 20 or something, like 50 for necessities, 30 for fun stuff, 20 for saving or something like that. Who was talking about this? Are all the groups back? Oh, they're still coming. Are people still in breakout rooms? It looks like there's only 13 people back here right now.
Yep, all
It's because
rooms
in
are
the
closed.
breakout rooms it didn't show like the message to go back. You had to press leave room by yourself.
Oh, really? Oh, okay, okay. I don't know why C staff even closed them out. Actually, mine looked really weird too. I don't know what was going on. Okay,
We'll
there's
fix that
26,
later.
27 people. Okay, we're back. Okay, welcome back, everyone. I don't know what was going on with the breakout rooms. It seems like they were a little funky today, but hopefully everyone got a chance to share. Which group was it that was talking about the like 50, 30, 20 or whatever, like some for fun, some like saving stuff? Who was talking about that? I'm kind of like looking around through all your faces here. But anyway, we'll just go to some of our student leaders who were leading the discussion here. Genesis, was it your group? What were y'all talking about? Yeah, oh, okay. Tell us a little bit about what kind of like what you heard.
I heard, well, about me, I put that a long-term goal that I have a short-term goal that I would have would be to like study for my AP exams that were coming up in May. That were kind of short.
Hmm.
But a long-term goal that I would have would be to save enough money for like summer programs either this year or next year. It doesn't really matter, but I haven't planned that out yet. But I know a lot of summer programs don't really give a lot of money for you to waste. So my long-term goal would just be saving up for that.
Okay. So you don't necessarily like kind of have this idea to save up for it, but don't necessarily have a plan as far as like, oh, how much is it going to be? How much you need per week? That kind of thing.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, it's good because, it kind of starts with like that goal. Okay, like what do you want to do? And then, kind of working backwards towards like, okay, what's it going to take to get there? Whether that's time studying or saving money, how much does it need to be per week or per month? And then how to go about getting it too. Um, Excellent. Thank you for sharing. Diana, actually, how about Camilla? You were one of our student leaders. I know I'm gonna ask, I didn't specify also, I know there's Genesis Orantes in here too. So I'll try to make it all the way around. But Camilla, did you hear like similar things in your group from different people, or was it all kind of like different goals, different ways to get there, saving money, investing?
Yeah. So like many people shared like similar interests in saving money for college, for like spending money for college, which was like really important. And they were all, or like we were all interested in saving rather than investing.
Yeah. Do you know, was there kind of like a reason for the saving over investing? Does it have to do something with like the time frame or how much needs to be saved or like something else or kind of a fear? Or...
Uh, I think the fact that like most of us aren't experienced like plays a big part in like if we want to invest or not. And also the goals are a lot shorter, or
Mhm.
we had short-term goals.
Yeah. I think, and actually, I think this is a good point to point out is like in the shorter term, I would say investments can be a little bit riskier. Because just for example, for the stock market, in general, it tends to go up over a long time. Like over like 10 years, it's almost always up over a 10-year period. But over 1 year, it could be down 20% or 30% or something. So if you really need that money, that's kind of like when we hit on what that's saving versus investing. It's like, well, if you really need to, have the money, make sure you don't lose it, and you don't have that like really long-term window to invest, then maybe it's best to just keep that money better in the bank and at least get that 3 or 4% a year or whatever, versus under your mattress. But it's a little bit safer for those shorter periods. I think is an important point to make. So I'm glad that kind of like at least popped up is like, should we, be saving it? Should we be investing it? And I think as you get more money and start thinking about the longer term stuff, those long term goals, it'll probably benefit you more to do kind of a little bit more on the investing side. Yeah, so thank you for sharing. I appreciate it. One of the thing actually that you mentioned is just not having experience with it. And that's why I kind of want to throw out this idea. It's just like getting in the habit of saving, is at least getting maybe familiar with investing so you can do it in the future. And like I said, if you hop on Robinhood or one of these other websites, I think you can have a free account. There's no maintenance fees, and you can just buy $5 worth of a stock. So I just wanted to throw it out there again. I don't want to encourage you too much to go like blow all your cash, but just so you see what it's like. If you have a bank account, you may have to be 18 to sign up for an account. But again, you can just deposit $5 in there, buy $5 of your favorite stock or like a group of stocks of 1,000 or whatever. And then you'll at least have that experience like, oh, I do know how to do it. And you can set it to buy $5 worth of stock a week, for example. Just take it out of your account and buy something. And maybe even less possibly, but I know at least you can just do $5 a week. So I just want to throw that out there, just like an automatic savings account. You can do that with an investing, and it doesn't have to be a ton of money. So maybe that's some way to kind of, just kind of dip your toe in the water, so to speak. Who else do we got here? Some of our student leaders. How about Genesis Orantes? What did you hear from your group in there?
Um, mm, I mean, kind of the same thing that everyone else had said. I had mentioned the 50-30-20 rule when I was gonna like trying to save for a trip, but I
Yeah,
know
explain
that
that. Explain that real quick. And actually, I've heard similar things, but I didn't hear it like exactly how you had explained it. So I thought it was kind of a cool thing if you can share with everyone.
well the 50-30-20 rule is just like if you get like $100, like 50% like you would waste for like your needs, which could be like taxes or like insurance, like when you're older, and then like 30% of it, which would be like $30, would be like your wants, which could be like, I don't know, like food or something, and then $20 or 20% would be saved. And that's what I'm trying to do so that I could go to a trip to Disneyland with my friends. And I know that and I know that someone else in my group also wanted to go to a trip um by the end of March. So they were gonna save like $20 a week because they had like weekly um what's that one word where they give you like money?
Like an
Like a week.
allowance or something?
Yeah, yeah, they would get allowance, so they would like save $20, as well as another student that I don't remember what her goal was, but I also know that she wanted to save like $20 a week so she could like accomplish her goal.
Awesome. And are you already saving that money right now?
Yeah.
Perfect. All right, good job. Yeah, I like that. And I like that in that 50-30-20 rule, it kind of is just this idea of, you can always be saving a little bit. It's like almost how much you have or how much you don't have. You can always save a little bit. And maybe, like I say, even if it's just buying $5 worth of stock or whatever, I think it's nice to just get the experience once And even if you just see, like I said, remind me towards the end of the semester, we'll see if that Nike stock is up or down from when I bought it today. But it's a simple thing to do, and you don't have to be like, genius or walk into some big building and sign up for an expensive account or something. It's really, it's for everyone. Let's go to the next slide, please. I always love hearing from everyone. I'm like, I know we got some stuff to get through and give you some time for the survey also. So fortunately, I've talked about a bunch of this stuff. There's stocks, equities. So that's like if you buy a stock, like I was just showing you, I bought a share of Nike, so I own part of the company. Bonds are more like if you're lending money to that company, it's a little bit safer because if something goes bad, you basically are in a better position to still have part something, whereas the stockholders can lose all their money more easily. It says down here mutual funds and ETFs. An ETF is basically just like a pool of a whole bunch of different stocks. So I kind of showed you a fund of my private equity investments, these startups, and there's just a whole bunch of stuff in there. There's some of these ETFs that'll have like 1,000 companies, probably the most popular ones like Coca-Cola, IBM, Nike. They'll be in these huge funds. So you can just put in, like I say, 520 bucks and get exposure to a whole bunch of different companies and that diversification, right? Not having all your eggs in one basket. Real estate, I've talked about it endlessly. Love real estate. But the basics there are there's all kinds of different stuff, but you can, remodel houses and sell it to someone who wants to move in. You can buy a house or apartments and like renovate them and rent them out to people or build something new, which I'm working on now. So there's all kinds of different stuff you can do. You do have to pay taxes when you sell stuff and make a profit on it. But there are some accounts like for retirement. So if you're not going to take the money out until you're like 60 or something, then you don't have to pay as much taxes on it. With all of these though, especially real estate, there's all kinds of other like tax saving loopholes. Too much to get in here. But the last thing here, I already talked about this, is diversification, right? Is just don't put all your money in one thing because if it goes bad, you could lose it all. That's the basics. Let's go on to the next slide, please. I think we have one last question coming up, a little bit of a survey. So why is diversification, spreading across assets, often safer than putting all your money into one stock, into one basket, so to speak? Go ahead and take a minute to answer this, and we'll move on to the end, wrap up our workshop here. Okay, hopefully you got enough time. I think this question is a little bit easier than some of the other ones. Um, how about Melly Rose? What did you write on here? Is your audio okay? If not, you can type it in here. I saw you typed in something earlier, so maybe your audio isn't working. Also for YC, I think there's just a misspelling in here, so I don't know if that matters, but make sure you get Melly Roses here, please. How about Valerie? If you can't hear us, Melly Rose. Valerie, can you hear me? I know you don't have your camera on. Yeah, go ahead.
I put diversification is often safer than putting all money into one stock since it reduces risk and minimizes losses. By investing across various stocks, um, well, you can gain more than losing all of it in one basket.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and it's pretty much just what I was talking about before. I think you hit the nail on the head. No further explanation needed. Again, this one, part of the reason I did the breakout group on the last question, I was like, this one's not much of a discussion, right? It's like kind of is what it is. Again, I tried to implement that more after I took some big losses investing in just like single companies and stuff like that. So hopefully learn from my mistakes rather than your own. Yeah, let's go on to the next slide, please. That was exactly correct. So we hit on a couple little things about taxes in this class, but next class is all about taxes. So again, it's like, what does it go towards? What does it fund? What do you have to pay? What are your obligations, right? And I talked a little bit at come out like how they're collected for certain things, like the gas tax goes towards roads, right? You're the one driving on it, so if you're spending money on gas, you get that benefit of a road. Also some paycheck stuff. So basically when you get paid, they're going to deduct some taxes from that. I'll share a little bit about it. Let's go to the next slide, please, which is our survey. Go ahead and finish up your survey and submit your workbook, please. I appreciate you all being here, participating, learning, but also get paid. Go save some of that money, go invest it, and go have some fun too. Why don't we go ahead and play this? And Chris or YC staff, if you can let me know how many people have submitted their workbooks. You can just go ahead and type in the chat, please. Thank you. Damn, y'all are good. 21 so far. Okay, and then how many students do we have in class? 23. Okay, it looks like 21 out of 24 of you have submitted your workbooks, which is excellent. The three rest of you, you got till 5 o'clock, I believe, maybe today or Friday, I can't remember. But just get it done. Get paid. You're already here participating and learning. So might as well make some money to invest too, right? Some announcements for y'all. How many of you are going to the finance park field trip? Already signed up. Okay, cool. I see Alexa, Mariana. Looks like Javier there. All right, cool, cool. More of you. This is a pretty fun one. If you haven't been already, they basically it's like going through life. How much is an apartment going to cost? They're in LA today. How much is a car going to cost? Kids going to cost? And you kind of like go through life, and they give you these little challenges. Or like this pops up. How are you going to shift your finances around? Really great way to learn. Sign up if you haven't already. If you can make it, the deadline's in a couple days to sign up, and you can choose from two different weeks, 2 different Saturdays. It looks like. So it's a really fun one. The Ignite Speaker Series. Miller McCoy. And actually, is this the same one? Is this the fashion one? I think it's a kind of like startup guy.
That one.
Okay, yeah. But kind of like built business from scratch, like got into design, was really interested in like graphic design, and then ended up like getting into fashion and building this like manufacturing business to actually make the clothing and stuff like that. So it's a really cool story of like kind of talking about earlier. Is that the right one or no?
That's the right one, correct?
Oh, okay. I thought someone said something. I was like, oh, maybe I'm mistaken. So just a really cool story of like we talked a little bit about having like role models or seeing other people how they overcome, adversity or whatever like a maybe challenge that they have to really be at a super successful level. So great way to learn. Also score some points there and a little bit more money for investing. So there you go. The college match program. If you are already in the college match at your high school, please fill out the form that's going to be dropped into the chat over here. It will be beneficial for you, I'm pretty sure, and they want to keep track of it. If you are not already in College Match or don't know what it is not a YC program, but your school may have it. So check with your counselor if you're interested. Maybe ask a classmate, or submit some kind of question to the YC help. Another thing on here, the free Mustang immersive experience. This is not for horses. This is for the Mustang car. So I think Ford has this cool, like, kind of interactive museum thing. It's like a 4D driving experience with some older Mustangs, some newer stuff. It's not on a track. It's in like some museum thing. I don't know if it's like virtual reality exactly, but you can get some free tickets. So if you'd like a free ticket to a cool experience, I don't know, maybe YC staff, I don't know if they can get multiple, like bring a friend. But go ahead and
Yeah.
fill out the form. Is that
hmm
right? Yeah.
Yeah, they can bring three people
You
there.
bring three
Um,
people.
3 or 4, yeah.
Yeah. So round up some friends or whatever, take your family to something cool and free on a weekend or whatever it may be. So just go ahead and fill out the form and you get some free tickets to this. Just a
hmm
little handout. First Gen U Career Institute. This is if you are an alumni, and in college. It's designed to support first generation college students. So fill out that form if you are that person. And I know we're wrapping up right now. The last thing I would like to say, thank you to all our student leaders and our alumni and everyone else. Also, if you have not been a student leader yet, maybe you were thinking about it last semester and you're like, oh, I'd like to participate in this a little bit more, step outside my comfort zone, help manage the breakout rooms. Let the YC staff know, so that we can include you and you can take on a little bit more of a leadership role. So thank you all for coming. Thank you all for participating. Thank you, my student leaders, alumni, all the students, YC staff. I appreciate it. Thank you, and I'll see you next week.
Thank you. Thank you,
Goodbye,
everyone.
goodbye. Thank you,
See you
everybody.
guys
Appreciate
next
it.
week. Bye.
And go invest. Diversification.
Bye, everyone. See you guys next week.
If you have any questions, we can try to answer them here. Dana, do you have a question?
Yeah. I switched from